Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you reset again. Idle champion. From Waterdeep to Icelandair, head out to Chull or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say again. Idle champions.
Oh, that's my cue. When the music stops, I'm supposed to actually do something, I think. Welcome everybody to the final Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show of 2021, and the final Codename Entertainment stream of 2021. I don't know why they let me do this, but hey, let me take it. I'm slowly leveling up like all the champions, basically all of them, because who knows who we might actually throw in today. Yeah. Final stream. To everybody that says expired code, you're looking at yesterday's code. I don't know why it would be expired, but there's a code on the screen. I'm sure Mars will update the new code. You know, you're all hitting the code button. Let's go see. I don't know. Maybe it is expired. No, yeah, it expired. Mars will fix it. Mars will come up with something else. Mars is in the mod pod today. He's like, hold on, folks. Look, it wouldn't be the final Codename Entertainment stream of 2021 if something didn't go wrong. Can we do maybe, hold on, Mars. Can we do maybe a, oh, that's not the button I wanted. Is there a, yeah, do like hashtag Artemis Meta. See if you can make that one. I don't know if you already did it or not. But maybe hashtag Artemis Meta. Oh, what was that? Oh, okay. So let me get rid of all these. Let me get rid of all the things. I was like, I probably want some item levels on these characters when we start talking about them. Today we're going to talk about Artemis and Trary, one of the most infamous assassins in the Forgotten Realms, at least in the books. Kind of the foil to Dritz Do'Urden early on. Spoilers later on. Not really enemies. Yeah. So we're going to talk about Artemis today, because it's Gaarawarr's Guide to the Artemis meta. We're also going to, Artemis is coming up in the next event, and the next event starts Wednesday. We get back-to-back events, folks. So the current event we're in ends Monday at noon. Artemis's event will arrive on Wednesday. Artemis will be joined by Baloth and Viconia Devere. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Artemis right now because I won't be here. Because I won't be here next week to talk about Artemis and the other champions. So we may talk about at least one of his variants from the event. Yeah, so a little housekeeping. Again, Mars is working on the code. He'll get it. He'll get it up in a bit. Once it's active, we will update things. The community challenge, I appreciate everybody contributing to the Simril community challenge. Over 11 million points raised. We already got the reward. We got it yesterday. The code to punch into your game is Simril challenge ! You can find it in chat right now. It gives you 3 different chests. Oh, hey, new code working now. Okay, hold on. I want to do the new code. Bam! Hashtag Artemis meta. Hashtag Artemis meta for an Electrum chest. Let me update. Boom. And it's updated in the overlay now, too. Alright. We're good. So Artemis Intrary. Let's preface a few things, folks. So everybody's on the same page here. First off, you are welcome to ask questions as I exposit on today's focused topic. However, I won't be addressing them until the second half. So the way this show works is in the first hour, I will talk about the topic. The second hour, I will do questions. Mars is here. Mars is in chat on the Cena Games account. Yeah, year 2012. Nice, Mars. Mars will grab your questions and we'll put them in a little document over here. From this point on, Mars will be grabbing questions. And I will answer the ones about our topic first, and then I'll answer anything after that. So, Artemis, just straight off the bat, if you're a new player, this is going to be interesting information long-term for you. Probably not something you're gonna use right away, but because Artemis's event is arriving, and you will be able to pick up Artemis, it's a good time to have kind of an idea of what it takes to use Artemis. I am not an expert on Artemis and Trary. I'm here to share with you basic information and start pointing you towards higher level play. I do have a guide for Artemis, which which you can grab basic information from, and I also have a guide to one of his event variants, which is, if you're a new player without a lot of favor, real rough. So I made a guide for that. So let's talk about Artemis. Artemis is effectively going to be more of a high-end DPS champion for you. Unlike, say, Ashara, who kicks in pretty much right away, like we did Gaarawarr's Guide to the Ashara meta. Ashara kicks in pretty quickly as long as you have certain champions in your formation. But even Ashara requires at least 5 champions that fit to match and light up her bonds. If you don't know what we're talking about, check out there's a VOD for that on the Cena Games YouTube channel. And then we talked about the Zorbu meta and how basically Zorbu works with just about anyone. We even talked about the click debuff meta. That was getting into some higher level meta formation type stuff. requiring like around E30 favor wherever you're going to use it. So what are the requirements for Artemis? Artemis has a couple requirements. One, he needs a lot of item levels. He needs a lot of item levels to be functional because of the way his abilities works. You know, it kind of depends. I think the rule of thumb that people have been saying in chat is he needs to be at least have like 10% of whatever your Ashara's item levels are to be better than Ashara. If you're a newer player, you know, that's nothing. But for those of us who are long-term players and might have, you know, thousands of levels on Ashara, that means we have to really buff up our Artemis to make him more powerful. He also needs very specific champions, and this is where a lot of the, I guess you could say, crunchiness comes in into figuring out like what the best formations are. Artemis specifically wants champions who buff positionally. So those positional formation abilities you hear so much about, hopefully, he needs that. So why does he need that? Let's go look at Artemis. Lawful Evil, Human Rogue, DPS. He is not support. He is only here to kill things. He is only here to kill things. Base attack, Vampiric Dagger. Artemis attacks the nearest enemy with his Vampiric Dagger. So he is a single target attacker. He is a single target attacker. And everything about Artemis, really, is based around this level 100 ability called Observance. Artemis observes and copies the positional formation abilities applied to other DPS champs in the formation, and gains a copy of those abilities on himself at a percent, that's based on a lot of different things, of their effectiveness, even if he himself already received that effect. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means he, A, wants positional formation abilities from his supports, but B, he also wants other DPS in his formation. Ideally, what he's looking for are those DPS/support champions that you've seen, like, oh, where's one? Oh, Zorbu. Speaking of meta, right? Zorbu's DPS support. Who else? Ariza, DPS support. Caddy Bree, DPS support. Champions that arrive like that, like Birdsong, DPS support. Because what Artemis wants is for you to have these positional formation abilities in the game, hitting those other DPS, while those characters are also themselves putting out positional formation abilities, and then he's going to observe it all. He's going to observe it all. He may receive some of those abilities, but then he's going to see them on others, and then he's going to multiply that number and add it to himself. So he gets into this weird functionality where you actually do kind of want multiple DPS, in the sense that you want some DPS in there that are DPS support. Yeah. So this is the core of his kit, is his observance. So what kind of champions are going to be able to offer up abilities that he can observe? There's a lot, folks. There are so many that in my guide to Artemis and Trary, I had to build a table for that. I had to build multiple tables. And they will be updated before his event starts, I swear. There are some recent champions that have not been tested and added potentially to this formation, to these tables. But I break it down by slot, and I list off not only the champion, but what ability they have that is observable. See, I'm getting my peanut butter mixed up with my chocolate. Artemis works is one of those similar champions to Archon, because he wants things. He wants other people to receive things. It's just that Artemis is better in a sense because he can receive them himself while also observing them on other people. Makes everything nicer. It makes everything nicer. So I list all those off. Now, you got to keep in mind, just because it's observable doesn't mean it's necessarily good. So you're looking at there are lots of different champions who potentially are going to have observable abilities. And ideally, you're using, again, this comes down to Formation Strategy 101. You have to mess around and adjust your formation regularly to try to find something that's going to give you specifically the best outcome. There are a lot of copy pastable formations in the Discord, specifically for Artemis. There are good places to start in terms of trying to understand how to build a formation around Artemis, but they don't take into account what your item levels are, and do you potentially have, is one of those champions they list there just have garbage items for you and you could just put somebody else in and do better? You have to be able to experiment. Again, this is much more high-end formation strategy management stuff. Go away. Stop beating up on him. All right. The nice thing about observance is you get an item for that. Dahlia's flute is the golden, or is the epic, I should say. There is a golden epic available, so that's going to help. This increases the effect of Artemis's observance ability. One thing I do want to point out is because of the way observance works, which we're going to get into, it doesn't just work once. What does that mean? Because Artemis observes abilities off other champions, like buffs that they're receiving, and he can observe even the same buff off multiple champions. That means observance works multiple times. So because he grabs this ability, as it explains over here, grabs a copy of it and buffs it based off this item, that means every observed ability that he has, that he brings in off every single champion, gets affected by that item. That makes him very item efficient, right? That means that potential item could be used dozens of times in one formation, which means pumping up item levels on Artemis becomes very efficient. So keep that in mind. Artemis, can have, you can drop lots of item levels into him, and he's one of those champions where when we talk, people are like, well, who should I put my blacksmithing contracts into first? Well, I don't know that it's Artemis, but one of the pieces of advice we give you is look for champions who are very item efficient, whose item applies multiple times. Like one of the ones that we throw out as an example is Avron, because Avron can throw out up to 4 mirrors. That means his slot 3 mirror image applies up to 4 times, right? Potentially more, depending on, are they getting multiple of these bonuses, right? I'm sure at least getting 4 of them. That makes Avron super efficient. Artemis blows away the efficiency. So yeah. Keep that in mind. What else does he have? Jeweled power. Whenever Artemis kills an enemy, keep in mind you already have to have enough damage to kill an enemy, clearly, right? This is kind of a snowball ability. Whenever Artemis kills an enemy, his damage is increased by 100%. Multiplicatively, there's a 10% chance per stack, which is additive, that Artemis's next attack deals 300% more damage and resets the stack count. So technically, you could do what I'm doing here. You could back up to a lower level, kill something, jump to a level that you're having trouble on, but try to get that potential damage bonus and go from there, right? But this is more of a snowball ability. You have to be able to kill something first. It's just a nice bonus. Again, observance is the core, and jeweled power is a bonus. Specializations. So he's going to get even more finicky. Now keep in mind, he observes every DPS champion in the formation, regardless of where they are. regardless of where they are. However, his specializations will give you a bonus based off what you choose. Observance Friend, he increases the effect by 10% multiplicatively for positional formation abilities observed and copied from champions adjacent to him. So a lot of times, if people run this spec, they'll talk about how you need to have as many, all the DPS adjacent to Artemis, or as many as possible. Whatever is going to make the best formation, right? This gives you a nice little bonus for each of those, and again, it's for each for the positional formation abilities from adjacent, like that are copied off of adjacent DPS champions. However, if you are not going to do that, the other way is Observance Foe. This is lore based. Observance's effect is increased by 25% multiplicatively for positional formation abilities observed and copied from Dritz or Caddy Bree. So which one of these is better? I don't know. Because I don't know what your formation looks like, right? Like, I don't know what's going to be the best formation for you. Like, how is it going to be better to use Caddy Bree and get a 25% bonus? Like, Dritz doesn't have... Caddy Bree has positional formation abilities. She's a DPS support. Dritz is just a DPS. It may be in a situation that you're doing a variant where, Dritz is someone you have to throw in. You don't have any other options. Well, if you have him and Caddy Bree, then Foe's probably where you might as well go. But a lot of times, it may be better that to use Friend. You're really going to have to... Artemis is... You're going to hear this a lot with Artemis. You're really just going to have to do the math. You're going to have to figure it out based off the formation you're building. That's just... Artemis is very much a min-max champion. If I put on Twitter, if Artemis played idle champions, he would be a min-maxer. That's just how he is, and they made that, kind of built that into his kit. I'm going to throw Observance Friend for now, and we'll go up here. That's it, folks. Look at this. No other abilities. Nothing. This is how straightforward Artemis is. Artemis is with the right item levels. So at that, super end game, potentially. I mean, you could get there early on if you wanted, if you just really wanted to go all on Artemis. With a lot of item levels, Artemis's Observance, that one ability alone, is strong enough to make him one of the top DPS in the game. Even potentially beating out Ashara, who a lot of you might be using. Right? Real strong. But it takes a cast of supporting champions, very specific ones, to make that happen. Potentially, everyone in your formation is there specifically to boost Artemis in one way or another. I mean, that's usually how you're building a formation, right? But usually you can swap in and out, and it doesn't really matter. Like, Ashara needs some specifics, but she only needs like 5 specific things to go with her bonds. Artemis really wants everyone to be there specifically for him. Specifically for him. And then Jeweled Power is just a nice bonus, right? So, but everything is built around Observance. Artemis's ultimate. Let's take this off the field now. For 30 seconds, Artemis concentrates on showing off his martial prowess, increasing his base damage by 300% for each DPS champion in the formation, including himself, stacking multiplicatively. That's the good way. Artemis's base attack cooldown also completes whenever another DPS champion attacks. So not only is this an I win button, in the sense that he's going to get a big boost of damage, he's also going to potentially attack faster. Every time he is attacked, he comes back. If another DPS champion in the formation attacks, he instantly gets his attack back and can attack again. So it's not going to be as cool right now when I hit it, but he'll start killing him. I mean, basically he gets a bunch of damage. His damage is going to go up. It's going to spike, and he's not going to attack faster because I don't have a lot of champions in here. But later, basically, you'll just see him just depending on how you build your formation, right? Depending on how you build your formation. Artemis's abilities, he gets, straight up 2 items that are just like, let's throw you all the damage, right? Self-damage. He gets Observance. This is the big one. He does get a Jeweled Power. He gets one that increases his damage while his ultimate is active. So again, it is an I win button. It's gonna do all the things. Hold on, I had to kill everything off here. And then he gets to reduce his ultimate cooldown. So he has a great item set for his kit. His items do everything you would want them to do for him. Super nice, super nice. Feat-wise, we get self-damage, clearly. He gets some gold find. I don't know why. He just does. He gets a couple jeweled power feats if you want to go in on that. And then his 50,000 feet is part shade. Artemis's damage it goes up by 240% if they have not received any healing or shielding effects in the last 10 seconds. So if you want to use this feat, you have to make sure there's no heals hitting him and no shields hitting him. Otherwise, it's wasted. It's wasted. It's wasted space. So keep that in mind. For this demonstration, I just basically threw in straight up damage. But yeah, this one's neat. But only if you can, only if it works out that that's going to be a good scenario. His jewel power you can view here. His observance we will view over here on incoming effects. These are just generic ones from that are applying to him in general. For this place that we're in. But as we start adding, I'm going to start throwing in a champion here and there with a positional formation ability. And as we start doing that, you're going to see, well, let's just throw Zorbu in. You're going to see that he can now start observing. Here we go. So we'll throw in a pair. We'll throw in Zorbu and we'll throw in Catti Brie. Now if we look at Artemis, we come over, we will see Hunter's Pack observed. So there is a very visible cue here in your formation buffs tab that he is observing this, and it actually spells it out. Increases the damage and it by a large amount, as this is the base version, observed on both Zorbu and Catti Brie, because Zorbu gets it himself, and he's also giving it to Catti Brie. Tells us the applied at rate, which is an EO4 bonus, and that tells us the total bonus that he's getting from Hunter's Pack. E15%. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. We can also see down here, Death March. Catti Brie has a Death March ability. She's applying it to Artemis. She's applying it to Zorbu, and she gets it herself. Again, there's a bonus. It's at 0. Why is it at 0? Because we're killing everything right away. Hold on. I was like, that's not right. Oh yeah, you have to actually have people on screen with the death mark that have been death marked. There we go. Now we got it. Now it's going up. Started out at EO6, and hey, it's going up for every mark that she puts on the screen, and we're getting a nice observance. Now, of course, we didn't have any tanks in there, so we just got steamrolled. Or do we have a tank in there? Do we have a tank in there? Artemis, one of the things Artemis formations, just playing around, just Artemis in general. I'm not going to say this is a meta way to play Artemis, but I am going to say Artemis is all about shenaniganry. There are Artemis shenanigans just overflowing because of his observance ability. Artemis can do some interesting shenaniganry. Let's say the most recent. Let's talk about one of the more recent shenaniganry things. Oh, come on. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back where everybody isn't dying. Let's go back where everybody isn't dying. One of the more recent shenanigans comes from your friend, my friend, everybody's friend, Yorvin Springpaw. And their danger sense. Champions adjacent to Yorvin take a number less damage from all attacks. Yeah, that's all we really care about. That's all we really care about. Gaarawarr, can you observe that? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This number right now sitting at 348, right? Artemis. Danger sense observed. Observed at a higher rate off of just Zorbu right now. Now it's up to over 6,000, right? If we want to throw Caddy Bree over here, so it's coming off of 2. Now we're at EO5. EO5 danger sense. What does that mean? That means you create an Artemis Entreri that shrugs off EO5 worth of damage from things. Yeah, that's over 9,000. Yes, yes it is. Look at that. Look at those damage numbers popping up over Artemis's head. Oh, they're zeros. This isn't even the first Tankamus shenaniganry we've ever seen in Idle Champions. There's some shenaniganry with Archon and Barrowin that create shields that are outrageous. People have used Tankamus, like shield Tankamus before, but this is the first shenaniganry we've had where you're actually just making literally 0 damage gets applied from these enemies. Well, until they enrage, and then they one-shot you. Again, this is shenanigans. This is not necessarily going to be viable in the sense that we think of for things like this. Let's try. I'm just because I have to. The murder bunny bounced around the wrong place. There we go. There's probably a much better way to do this. But if we throw in a bunch, where'd we get it to? EO6, right? I have not messed around with this specific form of shenaniganry. This is just me on the fly deciding to throw them in there and see what number I can get it up to. You can play shenaniganry. What good is shenaniganry, folks? Like, it's neat to see that he's taking 0 damage, but what good is that? Well, this game is the vast majority of this game is you playing in variants, like adventure variants, that are super restrictive and that could end you up with a pool of champions that is, shall we say, suboptimal. In those scenarios, if you can pull off some shenaniganry, that may be what it takes to get you to your goal level. You know, a little bit of shenaniganry sometimes can go along, right? And it's good to know that it's an option that's on the table if you get into real trouble. Or if you just want to boost the heck out of a champion that can stack up real high and create a nice debuff, or Kira, there's some shenaniganry that can happen there. There's some shenaniganry involving Artemis that can happen there. How does that work? I know we're supposed to be talking about Artemis and using him as a DPS, but we're going to get some shenaniganry out of the way first, and then we're going to let him DPS in the background. Hopefully. So, if you are going to get into some shenaniganry, if you have Orkira and you're like, hey, I see people using Orkira and getting her debuff over here, Elemental Fire, up real high. How do they do that? Well, Elemental Fire debuff is boosted by Healing Flame. That means what you need to do is figure out a way to boost the amount of healing Orkira gets. Well, how do we do that? Well, we kind of know, right? We know that Artemis can do that. We know that Archon can usurp things. This is some interesting combinations between here. Like, if we put Archon here, he's getting an EO4 bonus. Artemis is observing these heals, and he's getting them at a higher amount. Right here, lesser restoration. Observed. So he's getting it off of Archon, but it could be higher, right? Because Archon's not really boosting it just yet. So what we do is we play around with how Archon usurps things off of that he's not receiving. If he's receiving it, it's EO4. If he's not receiving it, it's EO6. And then Artemis observes at an even higher level. So you get these layers, and they just kind of boost themselves. Just in this one instance, he boosted himself quite a bit, right? And then you build for his shenaniganry, right? We're going to want actually some different champions. I want to throw in Alcoria. Alcoria boosts position. She can boost positional formation abilities if you meet her requirement. We can throw in Narak. As you see, the number went up. Narak boosts with his Githzerai focus or Kira's healing. And then we just start throwing in DPS for Artemis to observe off of. Like, watch this number go up. EO9, I throw it in. Now I'm up to E11. Where am I at? I'm going the wrong way. Here we go. Let's throw Farida in. And we're surrounding. Now we're up to E13. We're just making sure that everything is around Artemis, right? Now we're up to E17. So we've surrounded Artemis, but we can keep going. Now we're up to E20. Right? See how this works, folks? You can just keep boosting. And now I'm up to E23 healing on Artemis. So remember, the base healing that I was started out with on Arkira was EO4%. And then I used all these shenanigans, basically, Artemis shenaniganry with observance, to boost the amount of healing he's receiving by observance. So if we go look at observance, lesser restoration, we're now observing it off of Prudence, Makos, Farida, Archon, Ashara, and Strix. It started off at EO4, 2 EO4 every second. Current healing, 2 E23. So 19 orders of magnitude higher than we started off with. That's kind of a big deal, folks. This is what Artemis does. Because he's using all of those, he's using observance, but he's using it off each of those champions. His item gets applied for each of those champions just on this one ability. It's getting used, what, 6 times? Which is what takes us from EO4 to E23. This is what you want to understand about Artemis. It's not just about DPS. He is, like I said, with high item levels, Artemis is going to be a great DPS for you if you learn how to build the formation right. But even in this next event, when he arrives and you get him, you can use him like this, just for some shenanigans, to help your Ashara formation, right? Because if you're using Orkira in your Ashara formation, now you're going to have an elemental debuff. It's not going to be E28 once we get there, but yeah, you have a super high... Oh, I forgot. We actually would swap these out. Now what is he getting? We're maxing out all of our healing. Yeah, 3 E23, so a little bit better. So you're getting a huge debuff now out of Arkira that she didn't have before. She had a solid debuff before, but it was coming off of E07 heals before, right? And now it's coming off of E23 heals. So we're looking up, in the E20s on the debuff. This is what you want to keep in mind. When you're learning about a champion and what they do, these are the types of things that you're looking for. How can we manipulate these abilities at a high level and create bonuses that we wouldn't normally get? When people start talking, if they start talking about Orkira farming or Orkira stacking, this is it. This is it. Right? We are getting observances. We're firing off. Why did I use magic DPS? I used that was shenaniganry off Alcoria. Watchful Order, 5 stacks. We get bonuses for formation abilities, right? We could throw in again. This is not a pushing formation. This is not a pushing formation. This is literally a level 1. Let's farm up Orkira's debuff formation. That's all we're doing here. That's all we're doing here. We're getting her effective healing, this number, to a point where it's not climbing this quickly. So we can get E24 out of this formation. We can get E24 out of this formation. And then I would stop. Then I would be like, okay, now I'm going back to these feats. And I would remove all of these people, and I would end up with a 7E28 debuff, which is just redonkulous, folks. Redonkulous. And that can be used in an Ashara pushing formation. It can be used in a Zorbu pushing formation. It can be used in a click debuff formation. So this is how you would do that scenario, right? Something like this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. This is just what I threw together and off the top of my head, because I know how to a certain degree how these abilities work, and I'm like, yeah, let's try that. Let's try that. So let's pull all these people out and go back to Artemis alone. Artemis alone. So, what we're looking at for building around Artemis, again, we want positional formation abilities, and we want DPS support. We want some DPS support. Again, this is not going to be the most. I'm not out here telling you this is the most optimal way, and you have to do it this way. That's not what I do. I'm just going to show you, like we did earlier, some ways you can potentially combine people, right? If you want to get really crunchy with Artemis. And again, he is someone you can really get into min-max with. You're going to want to hit up the Discord. The hashtag formations channel. In that channel, there is a thread. Sometimes it's archived, sometimes it's not. You can check the threads at the top. Look for the... hold on, let me make sure I get the names right. The Artemis plus Nerds exploration thread. It's not just about nerds anymore. Because here's the thing, when nerds came out, the people that used Artemis kind of were like, uh-oh. Nerds had lots of positional formation abilities, or not lots. They had a couple, but they could hit one of them could hit everyone in the formation, and thus that meant lots of observances, right? Which meant that this kind of one-off marketing character that was a promo that they didn't really want to necessarily be super strong ended up potentially being super strong for Artemis. Where it stands now, I don't know, folks. I don't know. That's a long thread. You can read through it all to your heart's content. But the thing to take away is that thread now kind of houses a lot of Artemis discussions, a lot of very specific Artemis discussions. There are people in there who use Artemis a lot to push very, very far. So if you want to get into the super deep conversations, that's the place to go. It's probably going to ramp. That thread's going to get real busy, not only because of this stream, but because of the event coming on Wednesday and Artemis going live. That's going to be where you want to look in the Discord. Again, that is Discord. You click on the hashtag formations channel. And then up at the top, I can't really demonstrate this, but up at the top there's the threads. It looks like a hashtag sign, and you hover over it, it says threads, and you click on it and it'll show you Artemis and Nerds Explorations. Artemis and Nerds Explorations. Again, just go to whatever the current timeline is and start talking and chatting. How crunchy can you get? Well, obviously there's lots of different, potentially lots of different formations you can build, lots of different champions you can use. As always with this game, who is going to be effective for you is going to be based off in a large part on gear. It's just because someone's like, oh, I can get to 1500 with this formation, doesn't mean you will. And maybe you might need to swap some of those champions out and put somebody else in that has better gear, even if you're losing a positional formation ability here or there. It may be that the buff you're getting is worth it. Keep that in mind. But it gets even crunchier from there, folks. Because Artemis is one of like 2 DPS champions who are all about high item levels and become super strong, super mega ultra strong with lots of item levels, they have become kind of the end game. Super mega, ultra, double secret, end game kind of crunchiness characters, because spending thousands of blacksmithing contracts and getting thousands upon thousands of item levels on Artemis, because of that observance, because of the way observance in that item works, you can boost things incredibly. But Artemis isn't just about, hey, dump everything here. There are people in that discussion thread who have crunched out like the ratio of item levels that you want on Artemis versus the support champions you're using to maximize your bonuses. Think about that, folks. That's how crunchy they're getting, because they've beat all the content in the game. So the content to them now is min-maxing Artemis, figuring out that level of detail on min-max Artemis. So yeah, hit that up if that's how deep you want to get with this. Hit that up. They're gonna do real good for you. They're gonna do real good for you. I'm not going into that level of detail here. My guides are more introducing you to the shenanigans and pointing to places you can go to get more information. That's where you're gonna want to go. That's definitely where you're gonna want to go. So again, if I hold on. If I want to boost Artemis, I'm going to look at potentially ways to get lots of DPS champions out here, but not only lots of DPS champions, but DPS support champions. Makos is one of those. DPS support gold find. Cadibri is one. Zorbu's one. Right. These type of champions are going to help me utilize these kinds of things. I'm just throwing a bunch out here. So Arise is one. They're going to help me do this. And you can apply the buff to Artemis. You don't have to be worried with Archon. He can't get it. But Artemis is like, yeah, I'll take it. And then I'll also look at it on everyone else. I'll look at it on everyone else. He's like, I'll take them all. Give it all to me. Right? So as you can see, observing Bardic Connection, observing Death March. This is what you want to look for. Observing Dark Blessing. If he's getting a buff from a champion, ideally it's observed. Ideally it's observed, right? So you have to keep in mind that when you're adding in someone like, say, Orkira that we were talking about earlier, I mean, he's gonna observe that healing, but Orkira debuffs, right? She doesn't buff. So you have to keep in mind that if you're going to add in a champion that has a debuff instead of a buff, you better make sure that debuff is so big that it makes up for whatever number of observances he might have gotten off somebody else, right? And that might be the case now that we have Orkira up here with this, super mega ultra debuff. She may be better than somebody else, right? Or she might not. You may even find yourself using Krydle. Did I just say that? Oh, hold on. Yeah, from the shadows can be observed. So, Krydle meta, what? From the shadow increases damage of all champions in the back two columns of the formation. And it's doubled on here's a Baldur's Gate. So in this situation, maybe you want like this. Something more like this. And then suddenly he's observing from Krydle and we've got an EO8 buff. Krydle. It can happen. I saw somebody else say Celeste. Yes, Celeste has a positional formation ability, obviously. There's lots of positional formation abilities that come off of these champions. The thing about Krydle and why you would use Krydle is a DPS support. Again, Artemis loves those combo champions. He loves those combo champions. Not so much just a DPS champion, right? He wants combos. Combo. Xander? No. That's one thing that might make Xander useful is they made him a DPS support. But you still potentially have to use tank champions. you can't just rely on Artemis, fully Artemis shenaniganry. So you may have to throw some tank champions in there, and you may need to figure out who that's going to be is best for you. I don't know how much people played around with Sergeant Knox. Sergeant Knox loves positional formation abilities, and he buffs based on them, but I don't know that he really came out super great when it came to Artemis. Again, maybe you want to, if you had a single take formation, maybe you want to try that Yorvin cheese. It could happen. There's some Barrowin shenaniganry that goes on when it comes to shields. Artemis can observe those shields. I don't know if you know this, but Barrowin, kind of tanky. Isn't a tank. Healing support, but high overwhelm numbers. And has some ways to get super tank. I've got the base attack going on in the Blessed Hammer, but you can make Barrowin kind of super tanky, and then when she throws off her shield, Artemis could observe it and pick up that shield, and there's shenanigans, right? So keep in mind, this is not. Please don't use this formation. This is just me throwing in a bunch of stuff so that you can see what gets observed and what doesn't, right? So we're observing Blessed Hammer multiple times. Now we're getting like an E11 bonus. We've got Death March. Well, that doesn't work because everything's dead. We're not observing. We can't observe these health bonuses from tanks, but we are observing Rally Cry. E16. It's not bad. That's not bad, right? So the key is you want to get a champion in there, and you want to get to see like how much of a bonus are we getting off of these champions. E14 for Hunter's Pack, E12, Nether E Steel, Lesser Restoration. We're getting some E09 heals. Bardic Connections at E12, Dark Blessings at E12. It's all about maximizing. And the positioning could probably be adjusted here and maximize things even better. Right? Again, I'm not observing another buff off of Orkira, but there are, champions in slot 1 that have buffs like Deacon and Nerds. Okay, well. Nerds. Are they still observing off Nerds? Something about potentially not. Yeah, there we go. Bards. We get well, the Bard isn't the ideal one, but there's one coming off the Bard from Nerds. Yeah, I mean, again, it's very much Artemis is very much a champion you're going to want to fiddle with and play around with and try to find like what champions you have using your bench. How can you optimize Artemis? I use Artemis a lot lately, not necessarily as my go-to pusher, but in Zariel variants in Icewind Dale. Artemis qualifies for all patrons, folks. So if you don't have your Ashara or your Zorbu to go to, maybe Artemis. Maybe Artemis, right? Especially if you're in one of those situations where, wow, the only thing I have are like I have multiple DPS champions that they want me to use. I don't have anything else. If you've got positional formation abilities that can hit those and you put Artemis in, suddenly you've got a major DPS in Artemis, right? So yeah, again, this is just another kind of tool for your tool belt, in the sense that once you kind of understand how he works, and you know what you need to do to optimize his play. You hit a variant where you can't use those other champions you're used to using. Is Artemis available? He can do fun things. One thing I want to point out, I want to hit his ultimate while we actually have some DPS champs on the field. So you can see, right now we're at, well, this was set a bit ago. Hold on. We were here and like this. Is that when I was hitting super high numbers? Come on, bud. Reset anytime now. But once you start getting champions out and you hit this, you'll notice if there's an enemy on the screen, he's going to attack it. You can watch him kind of get into his attack form, and then he's just waiting for an enemy, and then bam, he goes again, and then he goes again. And there he goes again, right? And he's going to put up some solid damage numbers because he's buffing himself with this. So keep that in mind. You can hit that, as someone just mentioned. Look, once you spike his damage, you know, maybe you pop some fire breath potions, like maybe a short one, because again, he's not about you're not using him in click debuff, so you may as well ride his damage spikes as far as you can, especially if your my ult timer is low enough that he can just be popping this damage out constantly. But if not, go for it, right? Go for it. What other shenanigans? I'm trying to think. I mean, the big shenaniganry, like, you know, he can do that observance off Yorvin. Potentially, I mean, there's potential there to usurp and then to observe off Archon and make it even bigger. But there's the Barrowin shield shenaniganry, but the big one that gets used a lot is the Orkira. The Orkira stacking. That's the big one. I want to say, hold on. Does he... I want to test one. I want to test one out. Hold on. Let me get Archon back in here. And what I want is Archon. This is never something... I mean, this might be a situation you end up in, but it's not. It's probably not. Yeah, it's a situation you'd want to end up in. How far away do I need? Cutting Words. Freely has an ability called Cutting Words, where he increases the overwhelm of a tank by 5 when they're under attack, and within 3 slots of Freely. So I need back here. There we go. What's Archon's? Ah, there we go. 371 on Archon. That's more. Yeah, it doesn't. He can't observe that because he's not a tank. Dang it, Artemis. Dang it. All right, I had to see. But there's a way here. You get a freebie, folks. There's a way to have some interesting bonuses, overwhelm bonuses for your Archon, if you want. If you want. Yeah, I forgot. It's only going to trigger off tanks. But yeah, so those are the rules you got to follow. Those are the things you got to look for. Look for those positional formation abilities. Try to set them up so that you are getting as many of them as possible. As many of them as possible. And that's going to be how you max out Artemis. Again, hit up the Formations channel. Again, that's under the thread Artemis and Nerds Exploration. There are going to be a lot of people in there who do this. This is their jam, yo. Go get that. The one thing I did want to point out for the upcoming event, Artemis for new players. This is new player advice. If you have lots of power on your account, you don't need this guide. But for newer players, if you don't have a lot of power on your account and you're rolling into that Artemis event, please understand that Artemis is level 75, so the easy variant, level 75 variant, is actually the hardest variant in the game for new players. It has very specific restrictions that make it basically a super pain in the butt. I want to use the other word, but this isn't my channel. It's called the Infamous Assassin. Again, you only have to get to Area 75, but there are people who have tried this as a new player, especially if they don't if they don't have a lot of favor and they try it out, and they haven't been able to get more than a couple levels in after hours, right? Hours of play. So think about that. The restriction is Artemis begins in the formation and can't be removed. Champions, with the exception of Artemis, deal no damage. So no one does any damage but Artemis in this variant. Artemis's attack cooldown will complete when any DPS champion attempts to attack. So basically that effect from his ultimate is always on. Clicking does not deal damage. So the only way to get through Infamous Assassin is Artemis DPS. Artemis DPS. That means on level 1, your Artemis is going to be the only thing that can farm gold for you. And from then on, I mean, but what it does is it creates a situation where your first few champions, right? If you're a new player, Brunor, Celeste, you're going to have Artemis, you're going to get Jarlaxle. It isn't until you can unlock Jarlaxle that you will have a nether DPS and thus be able to attack a little faster. Because remember, Artemis, not super high attack speed and single target. So it becomes this very, very slow progress variant. Where you're not making a lot of gold. And if you're not making a lot of gold, you have to know how to upgrade efficiently. What does that mean? It means only upgrading when it's going to benefit the damage of your DPS and your wave clear, which means those self-damage upgrades on support champions, like that's not where you want to go first. You only upgrade your support and tanking champions if it's going to, well, A, if it's going to make the tank more survivable, or B, if it's going to buff your champion, like the Artemis, because you can't rely on anyone else to kill anything. I think my super mega ultra tip was don't do the variant without lots of favor. If you go in, you know, with if you wait until all 3 of the variants show as green / easy, so you have EO 8, EO 9 favor, then you can just kind of you could kind of breeze right through it. It doesn't have to be a challenge to you at all. But if you do it at like where it just shows up at easy, which is EO 4 favor, it could take you a few hours to get to level 75. If you know what you're doing, that's upgrading efficiently. It could take you a few hours. So please hit up that guide. It's going to have some advice that really bothers people. Some people really, but you know, this is the thing. Variants, sometimes you use champions in ways that you wouldn't normally use them. So, you know, I literally break it down by area. I start at area 1. I give lots of tips. Then I do like chunks, area 2 to 23. This is how you can progress from there. Area 24 is a hit-based barricade, which means you have to hit it with Artemis and his single DPS after clearing stuff. Like, that's the one that can take forever and maybe not even get past until you get a lot of gold, right? So, yeah. That guide will help you. But the best tip I can give you for Infamous Assassin when the event starts is get a lot of favor. Just don't do it if you get a lot of favor. If you do it before you have EO 4 favor, that's not even that much, folks. But if you do it before you have EO 4 favor, you're not gonna finish. Or it's gonna take you multiple days of grinding gold to do it, and that's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Don't be that person. All right, folks. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back. Mars has got a couple dozen questions that he's already pulled from chat. We'll see how many of them are on topic, but we'll do them all, and then we'll open up all the questions. Yeah. We'll be right back, folks.
Fill your cups with mead or wine and go top off your ale. Now it's time to gather close to hear this halfling's tale. Battling dragons, skeletons, and riding on a whale. Hunting down the creatures that make other heroes pale. Shot the dragon orb out of a deadly frost giant's hand. Freeing all the dragons out from under his command. She's Shani, the hero of Baldur's Gate. She's Shani, the savior of all. She's fleet of foot, quick of hand, with eagle eagle eyes she spies, always taking down evil monsters 20 times her size. She's Shandy, the hero of Baldur's Gate. Battled 50 demons, then she banished 50 more. Just an arrow from her bow can kill 1,000 orcs. You want this woman on your side when there you go to war. Her enemies will never know just what she has in store. Like the time she knocked the teeth out of a bugbear's snout, or when she sent 100 soldiers scrambling in a rout. She's Shandy, the hero of Baldur's Gate. She's Shandy, the savior of all. She is great of foot, quick of hand, with eagle eyes she spies, always taking down evil monsters 20 times her size. She's Shandy, the hero of Baldur's Gate. She's Shandy, the savior of all. She's great of foot, quick of hand, with eagle eyes she spies, always taking down evil monsters 20 times her size. She's Shandy, the hero of Baldur's Gate.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. So, Gaarawarr, this is the Artemis guide. Why are you playing a song to Shandy? Well, one, we don't have an Artemis song. Yeah, we don't have an Artemis song. And two, if you've signed up for the newsletter, sign up for the newsletter. If you sign up for the newsletter before December 20th, as a holiday gift, they are sending out Solstice Shandy. I don't have the art. I don't have the art prepped, so I can't show it off. Solstice Shandy, and that should mean you also unlock Shandy with the newsletter. So sign up for the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. How do you do that, Gaarawarr? You open up the menu and you click the newsletter thing and you put in a valid email address. The key there is a valid email address. Solstice Shandy will arrive alongside, well, you know, Solstice Benwyn. So think along these lines, folks. Candy canes in elfish green. That's what you're gonna see. That's what you're gonna see. There we go. All right, I'm gonna dive into the questions. I'm gonna try to hit the stuff that's, you know, roughly about Artemis first, and then we'll go into whatever generic stuff. And I'm going to leave this probably absolutely horrible formation in the background. I mean, it's not super bad, but it's probably not great. Shandy actually works, by the way, with Artemis. She has positional formational abilities. Could come in pretty handy. I just decided to throw out because we had a three tank setup. That's what I did. 17's a pun. Would Archon have a weird synergy with Artemis? Usurp power, maybe? Oh yeah. I think we kind of covered that. But yes, you can bounce your usurp and your observe, and things can get weird. Things can get weird. You know what? I haven't done this in a very long time, but let's try to do. We've got time today. It's the last. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Tell me I can't stream for a few weeks? It's the last stream of the year, folks. There we go. Look at the shield. Look at the shield on that guy. What did we just do, folks? Well, I shielded, Barrowin shielded Archon, right? Archon got a nice EO5 shield. And then Artemis went like, oh yeah, I can do that too. And then threw himself an EO7 shield. Oh, wow. I mean, there's some more shenaniganry. We'll just leave that there. Is that enough for me to take hits at 600? I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is. But we're going to go find out. Let's go find out. Oh, you know who we need in here in Narak. Boom. This is some other shenaniganry, folks. What did Narak just do? Narak just shot Barrowin's Overwhelm up to 76 because Barrowin gets Overwhelmed based off a positional formation ability that she has. Archon's still at the EO5 shield. Yeah, he's still at the EO7, so it didn't change that too much, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll let them just get beaten on. They'll probably die, but yeah. Friday CWU. Do Archon Artemis count for Avern's adjacent mirrors buff if usurping observing from DPS? You can't observe or usurp mirrors that I'm aware of. Hold on. Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. Hold on. I've got... Oh, I just closed that window. Gaarawarr, why did you close your... Why did you close that window? Hold on. Let me find... Avern. Yeah, no. Avern, you can't observe mirrors. You can't observe mirrors. So yeah, that's not a thing. Because it's not the mirrors aren't positional formation. They just go to whoever qualifies. It's not like he only puts them on adjacent champions. So, yeah. Prince Guinevere, when Kira's stacking with Artemis, what's the purpose of Narak? Narak boosts, he's got Githzerai Focus, which boosts champions who have wisdom scores of 14 or higher. Artemis has a wisdom score of 14 or higher, but Artemis has no positional formation abilities, so he's not boosting Artemis. What he's doing is he's boosting Orkira's healing, which then creates lots of, you know, huge numbers on Artemis, healing numbers on Artemis. Technically, he boosts Olkoria too, but for whatever reason, like the numbers change for Olkoria, but it's like they don't apply for some reason. So I have it listed as Olkoria is on Narak's Githzerai focus tables. You can hit that in the Narak guy. I have that listed as being able to apply to Olkoria, but it appears maybe that either there's a bug that it shouldn't apply, or it's not, or the bug is that it's not applying, and I don't know which one it is. I need to report that. And actually, folks, Codename Entertainment is going on holiday for the next couple of weeks, so don't expect any any bugs to get fixed. But I should probably report it, at least get it in the queue. And Vulcan, how come Artemis is a human and 131 years old? This is a great lore question. And I actually know the answer. I know something other than video game stuff. Artemis has a dagger that is a vampiric dagger. And oh, is that skin in this? I don't think it's still in the store. He has a shade skin. I think it's been out of the store for a while now. Yeah. But Archon has a vampiric dagger that he stuck in a shade, which is like a... Well, we'll get into some long-living, very long-living things. And he basically... Well, he also... That dagger also just... Because it's a vampiric dagger... every time he stabbed it into somebody and killed someone, he gained some of their life essence and thus allowed himself to live longer. But then he stuck it in a shade. And then he became part shade, which is why there's a shade Artemis skin. That's actually what the shade reference was. Part shade. So this feat comes with, it arrived with that skin, and that's, it comes from shoving that vampiric dagger into a shade. He became part shade. But because he's stabbed so many people with that vampiric dagger, he's basically extended his life. Well beyond what it should have been. Where should I be that they could just sit here indefinitely? Maybe the 500s? And yes, William Smith, the dagger stole souls too. Yes, it did. But It was basically the ultimately the reason he is so long lived is because it basically he sucked the life essence out of people and used it to prolong his own. Is Sergeant Knox a good idea for a formation with Artemis? Well, I mean, you can use him. I was using him earlier. I mean, he has a positional formation ability. Ultimately, is he going to be the most ideal? Maybe not. I was only throwing it because well, I'm trying to look up some things at the moment. I was only throwing that there because I knew he had positional formation abilities. I was in a 3-tank formation. Sometimes when you get 3-tank formations, you have to do things that are suboptimal. That may have been suboptimal, but yes, he does have a positional formation ability that Artemis can observe. You're in UK. I thought Artemis plus nerds. I mean, yeah, sure. Again, you know, people with positional formation abilities, absolutely. I'm looking up. I am in... Where am I at? I'm in Descent into Avernus, right? That's where I am. Someone asked for a more... one of the other questions I'm just going to get to right now and set up maybe a more meta Artemis formation. So here's what I'm going to do. There are a couple pinned posts in that thread I told you about from DJ. I'm just going to go ahead and throw. So if you don't like these formations, talk to them. But again, this is just what kind of worked for them. I don't have the nerds in their proper setup. I don't think I need to shake the box. Here we go. Nerds, if you haven't played with nerds before, nerds are very, like, you have to do very specific things with nerds to get them to kind of work right. To get them to work right. And it's about who's in the box. Who's in the box? No, it's what's in the box. Who's in the box? But we're looking at maybe something more like this, and of course, Caddy in the back. Caddy in the back. I don't think I have I don't have the nerds set up right, and I don't have necessarily the specs all dialed in. This should be somewhat accurate. We'll let it do its thing. But yeah, there's a bunch of different preset, again, copy pastable formations that you can find in that thread. I consider any kind of copy paste formation a starting place for you. Even when I put formations in my guides, these are starting places. Start here, adjust as necessary, right? Because I got that, like, there's a Narak in here buffing some things, but earlier, because I buffed my Orkira through the roof, maybe nerds aren't going to be the one for me. Who do we have going on right now? I think I want... We got the clear... Yeah, no, that's fine. I think we'd want, like, one different nerd, but it's close enough. It's close enough. Nexus, does Artemis work for gold find for a Zaka farm? No. No. Here's why. Because you're not applying... you're not killing anything. And the abilities that you're buffing for a Zaka farming are just gold find. You're either buffing your straight gold find, or you are debuffing the enemy so that they drop more gold. They drop more gold. So it's not about a positional form. Zaka farming isn't about positional formation abilities. It's just about flat out gold find numbers. And that's not something that Artemis currently changes. Because who knows? Maybe they'll do some kind of wild positional formation gold find buff ability, and then you'll throw them in. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But right now, no. Texan, what is the mechanic that is making DPS champs increase healing? Observe makes DPS increase all formation effects. Is that it? So what's going on there in that Orkira stacking situation is that Alcoria was in there, and Alcoria, if you have a number of, well, it's a combination of things. Orkira was healing all of those DPS champions, or most of them, and thus that was. And Artemis was observing that heal off all of them. But then Alcoria, because they were magic base attack DPS champions, if you noted, they weren't, I didn't have like Caddy Bree in there, because it was about getting Alcoria up to boost her Watchful Order so that she then boosts positional formation abilities of all magic base attack champions, of which Orkira was one. So there's a lot of little things that are working together there that made those numbers super high. But when you're just trying to boost Orkira's healing numbers and you're using Artemis to observe, it needs to be off DPS. It needs to be off DPS. Again, Desire Fire, what would Artemis and Azaka gold farming look like? Nothing. It's not a thing currently. Does Narak boost anything off Artemis? He can... maybe? Hold on. I feel like what you're doing with Narak Primat here, he's got guess right focus, he's observing, but that's not really... I have it in the observable things. He's observing it on Ariza, and he's buffing it. But the thing is Gifts the Right Focus is usually about buffing other people's abilities, and then he would be observing that buff. If there's something else that's going on there, again, it's not. That's in the crunchiness of Artemis. Hit up that Discord thread. Hit up that Discord thread. Sub 1999 Ishi's Let's Find Some Treasure seems to be a positional formation ability. Does Artemis observe it? No. No. Hold on, I'm going to go... my table says no. My table says no. So that means I actively tested it and saw no changes on any of Ishi's numbers. Things change all the time, though, so let me just go double check and look at exactly how this ability reads. Let's find some treasure. Oh, yeah, no. Increases all gold found by 20% for every non-human champion adjacent to Ishi. No, because it's not a positional formation ability in the sense that it doesn't buff other people. It's a self buff, or it's not even a self buff. It's just a buff based off who's adjacent to Ishi, and it buffs gold finds. So because it isn't buffing a DPS champion, it's not observable. Because remember, Artemis observes only off of DPS champions. He can't observe gold find as a number. So that's why that doesn't work. What happens when Artemis observes Gaarawarr? Nothing. I'm not a DPS. Artemis only observes off DPS. If they ever put a character of me in the game, like a Gaarawarr Grudgekeeper, my OC, that would be a support tank. That'd be a support tank. Can you observe Freely's Overwhelm buff? Nope, we just tested that again because Freely, and the thing that always gets me off that is, again, it's Freely. You would think he could observe it off of Archon. But Freely only applies that to tanking champions. If Freely just applied it to anybody, if Freely could just apply that overwhelm, increase that overwhelm for anyone, then yes. But he just increases it for tanks. Mars in chat. Maybe one day, Gar. You and me both. Who knows? Never say never, but, you know. Science guy. I probably understood this wrong. I probably didn't. I don't know. Who knows? But you can have a buff on Artemis, yes. And he observes the buff off another champ as well. Yes. Yes. Archon is the one that can't do it unless he doesn't get it. Artemis is like, yeah, I'll take your buff. And I'll take their buff too. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Does the ultimate do damage in the Artemis variant? Well, the ultimate Artemis's ultimate doesn't do damage. It buffs him. So yes. Yes. But here's the thing. You're already getting the effect that you need from his ultimate, and that's the effect that says that he will attack. He will reset his attack whenever another DPS attacks. That's an always on in that variant. So that's the one that matters. What holds you back in that variant isn't damage. It's attack speed. It's attack speed. Would Whittle help change that first Artemis variant? If you have Whittle, you are going to be able to attack faster. So yes, if you have Whittle, that'll make that variant easier. That'll make that variant easier. Still, I mean, just get more gold. Just get more gold. Hey, Super Steve, could you show us a serious meta Artemis formation? Well, I kind of pasted this one in. This is what some people are using. Again, would it be great for you? I don't know. I have tried some of these formations at a wall, at a very high wall, and swapped in some things like Orkira. Orkira coming in with a debuff that I have her at beats a lot of some of the weaker options in these formations. So so maybe like here, hold on, we're at 260. Well, I can't really take. I don't have another tank here. I'm using nerds to tank. But if I weren't using nerds to tank, if I were in a single or a double tank formation with this kind of situation, I could totally put Orkira in, and she'd, you know, probably be real great. Probably be real great. Trontonia, can you usurp observe Yorvin's damage reduction? Oh yeah, we were doing that earlier. Yeah, yeah. It can get up. It can get up there. It can get up there. Again, that's kind of a gimmicky, but you know, sometimes you need those shenanigans to beat things, and yeah, sure. Is Artemis a new unlock? Erebor, Artemis will be arriving with Winter Shield. Winter Shield will arrive on Wednesday. We get back-to-back events. Because we had those back-to-back time gates for the Year's End Festival. They just gave us back-to-back events over the break. So the current Simmerl event will end on Monday at noon Pacific. And the Winter Shield event will arrive with Artemis, Baloth, and Viconia Devere on Wednesday at noon Pacific. Can you explain any synergies that Artemis might have with Freely? Freely doesn't have any positional formation abilities, so all you'd be getting from Freely are the usual debuffs. The usual debuffs. The only somewhat synergy you would have would be Artemis attacking real fast when his ultimate is up to potentially apply Freely's debuffs, but that's only if you have Freely and Lawful, which usually isn't what you're doing. So that'd be the only thing. Jamie Unyielding, could it be worth using Artemis on foe in a companions formation? Yeah, I mean, if you're using both Catti-brie and Drizzt, you probably want to go foe, because that's two 25% bonuses, as opposed to just a couple. Like, how many am I getting? I'm only getting like 2 10% bonuses here. It's actually probably better for me to use the other thing here. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have these specs perfect because I was just throwing people around. But again, for specializations, you're going to want to look at the formation you're using and figure out which one's going to give you the best option. How do you Orkira health stack? We kind of did that just a little bit ago. So if you want to watch the VOD right after this, basically you're using Archon and Artemis, and then Alcoria if you have her, and Narak if you have him, and then lots of magic-based DPS. But that is I did cover that. We can maybe go back in a moment after I finish all the questions. If we have some time, I can try to throw it in again. Isle Sarnder, Stokey's Golden Palm looks like it can be observed by Archon and therefore Artemis. Yeah. Yep, it's positional formation, so sure. But that's not something you would normally use in an Azaka farming formation. Like if you just want to have some gold find, some observable gold find in your Artemis formation, sure. But whether or not that's going to help you push super far or not is a whole other question, right? That looks to be all the stuff so far that's on topic, so we can start diving. I mean, you can still ask me Artemis questions. I'll get to them, but I'm going to back up and I'm going to go over. The general questions. Nibbles 76 are gold shinies. I'm going to change this. I believe what you're trying to ask are golden epics obtainable elsewhere than wild offers or the store. Occasionally there will be one that's given away in a like a meta event, like a Year's End festival type of thing. Sometimes they've given those away. Otherwise, each patron has one in their shop. The one for Mert is Olcoria's. It's currently the bottom one. Azaka gets one from Vajra. Strahd gives one to Dragonbait. And Zerial gives one to Rhea. That's the only other way currently. So, yeah, Goldens are, generally speaking, Goldens are only from cash purchases. Greythorn. So you're saying in the right formation or all formations, Avern is better than Warden? Was this a conversation in chat that I was not a part of? I don't recall saying anything like that. However, yes. However, yes. Generally speaking, it would be a very weird formation or very weird variant indeed, where Avern wasn't better than Warden. Here's the thing. ¿Por qué no los dos? Like, why not both? I know they're in the same slot, but Warden has a debuff that lingers. What does that mean? It means you can apply 4 stacks of his debuff to your boss that you're fighting, and then swap Avern in and let Avern populate his mirrors, and you can get the best of both of them. So why not? Why not? But if you're only choosing one, if you could only choose one, Avern is a much bigger buffer than Warden is a debuffer. Roram, new player here. Welcome. What E number should I have going to try to advance to 275 for the Krull achievement? Are you talking like gold find or damage? Like, I don't know what E number we're talking about. And I don't know. I have no idea. Off the top of my head. Like, there's probably spreadsheets out there for that will give you, like, well, what gold 5% should you shoot for to try to beat area 225 in an event? And there might even be the damage numbers for that too, but that's not a piece of information I usually keep in my head. So I have no idea. I don't know. You just kind of try to do it. If you can't get those achievements, folks, this is what we're talking about. It's not even Krull's achievement. I mean, it arrived with Krull, but these numbered achievements aren't bound to champions. They are bound to the event. So you need to finish these numbered things during this event. Otherwise, you can't get them outside of it. So Spoiled Rotten at 275. You just got to reach 275 in a free play. I mean, yeah, you need a decent amount of favor for that. A decent amount of favor for that. Favor is going to provide the damage, so it's up there, but it's not like... I mean, yeah, maybe you don't get it this year. Maybe you get it next year. Shank Mugen, how many Orkira stacks is a good amount? All of them, Shank. All of them. It's going to vary. Like, you saw me hit E23 That's because of the formation layout. I was able to get to E23. It may not always be able to get to E23. Sometimes it might be lower, sometimes it might be higher, but that's a function of my gear and the champions I had available, and the formation layout. Right? So some formations are going to be better than others. So every players are going to have different gear. The thing is you want to at least try to get into double digits. Right? If you have single digit Orkira debuff, I mean, it's still okay, but there might be better buffs out there than Orkira's debuff in that situation. But if you can get into double digits, 13, 15, 19, like in those cases, that's, try to do that. But ultimately it's going to be limited by what your what is available in your formation layout here. Since we're talking about this again, I'm going to hold on. Let's clear this level just because I want to clear it. Then we'll go back. Orkira farming is, in my opinion, is best done on level 1 after you've soft capped all of your champions. So soft cap is the circle with the line through. I do have, hold on, let me save this. Artemis meta, question mark? Because I don't know. Let's load in. I've saved my Orkira farming, an Orkira farming formation. I have saved. How much? Yeah, that's an E23 one. So this is different than the one I did before, and yet it's still throwing out. I don't need these. It's still throwing out a decent number of. Oh, fine. Go away. A decent number of heals. So, in this one, it's, still, I can get this to like E23. Let's bounce him around, make sure, yeah. But it's really going to depend on the layout and what's going on, right? So this is, again, this is kind of an Orkira farming formation. And it relies on, go away. It relies on Artemis being surrounded by DPS champions. I have Archon, who's usurping off the heal off of someone, and then Artemis is observing off of that. Orkira's pumping out heals for as many DPS champions as possible. Wait, hold on. No, yeah, didn't think so. That's because we're losing way too much off of. If we move, no, I don't want to mess with it. Olkoria is qualifying. These are magic base attack DPS because Olkoria needs spellcaster school to trigger, and the number, and as long as she gets 5 people qualifying for spellcaster school, she buffs positional formation abilities, which means Orkira heals higher, right? So yeah, this is another version, another potential version of a Orkira, stacking formation. There's going to be lots of different options depending on what's going on, and you may not have all of these magic-based DPS, and you just got to do what you can do, right? Do what you can do. Texan, my weird question. My Torgar attack speed was 2.85 yesterday, and the same formation is 3.85 today. Any idea what I may be missing? Move him if you just loaded the formation up again, like you opened the client and it seems lower than it was yesterday. Move the champion, shuffle the champions around like this. We were talking to Sean about this yesterday, and he's never heard of this, but sometimes, a lot of us have, sometimes abilities turn off on some champions for some reason, but shuffling them around like this, may fix it. But as Jason said, don't move him yet. Submit a bug ticket first. Sure. But then move him and see if it fixes it. Move him and see if it fixes it. I run into this a lot with Artemis formations, but I don't know if it's linked to Artemis or the other people in them. So yes, if you have run into these, if you have run into cases where it seems like, where you're like, wait, I was doing this, I was doing really good yesterday. I shut my client down. I started it back up again. And now I'm not doing as well. The first thing you need to do before touching anything, submit a ticket and explain that to them. Then, after you've submitted it, then go shuffle things around and see if you get things back. Because, yeah, abilities are shutting off for some reason. So, yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly why. Shank, I'm not able to find the Shandy skin in my mail. Is it not out yet? No, it's not. It's not Christmas time yet. Like, this is kind of the holiday gift, so it'll probably arrive next week. I don't know if it'll come out on Friday or Saturday, or if it'll come out in the middle of the week. I don't know, but yeah, it's coming up. They just said you have to be signed up for the newsletter by the 20th, so it's coming out after the 20th, most likely. Most likely. Autochrome, what is the role of Torgar in this formation since you bought... Okay, let me go back. This is why I saved this, because I knew somebody was going to ask a question. Boom. What's the role of Torgar in this formation? He's buffing evil champions. Right? I mean, again, you have to kind of balance... I don't know if he's doing a great job at it. You have to kind of balance, like, the buffs they apply. I don't have his highest one done, you know, with what you're getting. He's not gonna let me find this. Where Torgar, where are you? Is it just an on and it's not going to show up in here? Oh, I hate that. Yeah, it's just on because he's evil. He's getting it. All right, let me double check. They really need, so here's the thing. They need outgoing effects, they need incoming effects, and then they need global effects at the bottom so that you can see, because sometimes buffs just buff everyone that qualifies, and it's not positional, and that's what's happening with Torgar. So yeah, they're just, in my understanding, they're just here for the buff to evil champions. But if you have a buff that's bigger, use it. Use it. Big Jake. Does the damage in trials scale up as you do the more difficult trials? Example, given the same restrictions, Venture, should I wall at roughly the same level on normal and torment? You should, yes. Like if everything, all things being equal, like you have the same restrictions and you have the same gold find, you should be walling in the same place. However, you also would then have to have the same adventure too, right? Each adventure is a little different. Little different. Yeah. Wandering bereft in seriousness. If I submitted a ticket every time that happened, I'd create upwards of 50 tickets a day just for that. I don't have that much time. Look, here's the thing. Sean said he'd never seen that before in a ticket. And, you know, I mean, maybe you added it to the bug tracker, but, I mean... Sean was saying he'd never seen it. So that means they've kind of overlooked whatever tickets we've been submitting, and maybe the only way they're going to fix it is if we submit 50 tickets. As long as you're doing it when you recognize it happens, that's information they need, because maybe that formation layout's going to be the clue they need to fix it. But yeah, there's good tickets, and then there's this is broke, fix it. So just explain what's going on. Explain what you think is happening. Explain that you think some ability has turned off, and only by moving champions will it turn on again. Submit that ticket so that they can grab that layout and the champions that are being used. Yeah, and go from there. But yeah, Sean's basically daring people to submit tickets. Yeah, he is, because he doesn't think it exists. Yep. How did you get to the first level so fast? I think people in chat answered this, but if you hold down shift and then click on an arrow, you go all the way. Let's go all the way. Banner. Grail shaped. If using the Orkira healing buff, best to swap out Artemis's part shade feat. Oh yeah, if you're using, and I heard you mention part shade earlier. Yeah, no. If you are using any healers or shielders, in this case we have Briv, you can't use that part shade feat. It's going to do absolutely nothing. it's really going to kind of do absolutely nothing. Like, what's the... Hold on, let me see the trigger timer on it again. In the last 10 seconds, yeah. Because Briv heals in 10 attacks or 10 seconds. So having Briv in this situation means I can't use Part Shade. If I were running and I have a healer... Oh, well, I should have... I think what I want here is the healer, and I don't have that. Let's shake this cart. Shake that cart. No, still didn't. You want all the positional formation abilities out of the nerds, and I don't think we're getting them all. Don't think we're getting them all. I think I need the healer, too. But yeah, that's going to... Any kind of heals or shields is going to shut off that ability from that feat. So if you're running those kinds of champions, you need to just go with something else. I had both the damage feats, but honestly, I think it's probably 40% always training. Yeah, I don't know. I just want straight up damage. Shake that cart. Hey, did we get it? Yeah, that should be the... Wait, why is... Oh, this is not matching. I'm like looking in here and that doesn't match this. Artemis should be getting multiple now. Hold on. Let's look at nerds buffs. Why am I not seeing nerds buffs? Did they remove nerds buffs from Artemis? Does he not observe them? No, here we go. Fighter observed. But where's the... Oh, the nerds only heal forward. Okay. Never mind. I don't use nerds a lot, folks. B. Greenwood. What does R and G stand for? No, RNG. Random number generator. Random number generator. Basically, random number generator is a program that gets created in video games to simulate the roll of a dice. So luck. That is what RNG stands for. Yeah. So it is simulated luck in video games or any kind of software. Old Man Master, have you completed Show of Strength Strahd? Hold on, I gotta check my notepad for this. Yes? I don't have it on my list of things that I haven't beat for Strahd. I have a Serax puzzle, Might Makes Right in Frontline Fighters that I have not done for Strahd, so that tells me I've done Show of Strength. Don't ask me how, I don't remember. But it was doable with a formation. That's all I know. Nazgul, after Artemis, when is the next event? Okay, so we're jumping into next year. So Wednesday the 22nd will be Winter Shield. And then as long as things follow the normal 3-week format, then that means Wednesday, January 12th would be, what's it called? Midwinter. And that will be the return of Morgaine and Talon. 2 solid pickups, in my opinion. Talon's real big in the click debuff game. Morgaine's just a super versatile support buffer. And I have no idea who's arriving with that. Anything that hasn't been talked about, so any discussion of that would be spoilers. I think I actually do know who's arriving with that, but yeah, I can't talk about it. Yeah, so that'll be January. Are we done? Yeah, I think that's all the questions so far. We got about 10 minutes, so I'll just grab whatever's coming in out of chat. Plage. When is it good to buy silver chests, and when is it good to buy gold chests with gems? Trontonian just triggered the link to the Idle Champions visual aids by Mars. One of those, I think it's maybe 3 or 4 down, is the gems visual aid, and that's actually a collaboration between Mars and I. That's gonna kind of explain the general idea of like the thought process of when you should buy what with gems. Ultimately, it's your decision. We're just trying to give you some information that you can use to make that decision with. But generally, silver chests is when you're brand new, and you don't have any gear at all, and you're just trying to get up to at least green gear, like minimum green gear on all your core and evergreens, and then after that, gold chests. After that, gold chests. Mar says he's going to try to update the visual aids this month. Nice. Nice. So yeah, that's generally a good rule of thumb. But ultimately, you know, as you get more experience, you'll make your own decisions about when you want to do what. I save like all my gems up, and then I only buy like gold chests because, as you can see here, I have like over 1,000 silver chests. That's just from playing. That's just looting off of bosses. So I don't buy silver chests at all anymore. I only buy gold chests. But even these, all 79 of these are looted off of bosses. But I tend to like open up the last 2 events I've opened up 1,200 gold chests that I bought most of, at least 1,000 of roughly with gems. But that's more of like end game stuff. That's more end game stuff for that volume. Someone asked the question where the answer is there's a guide for that. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Dino J, I've been dumping my blacksmithing contracts into Freely to help with deep pushes on click debuff. That's an interesting choice. Yeah. Thinking about starting either Artemis or Krond. Which would you recommend? Oof. I mean, I guess Artemis, because we're in Gaarawarr's Guide to the Artemis meta. I feel like I would get in trouble if I didn't say Artemis. But also Artemis, because Artemis is about to arrive in the event, right? So you can also get gear in the event if you can get full epic on your other champions, and then you want to pick up a bunch of extra item levels just by doing free plays for Artemis. You can do that in the event coming up. So seems like the easier target. Niscus, did a gem chest discount happen? No. There's never been discounts for gem purchases. The only thing that's ever changed about gem purchases is, well, there's 2 things that can happen with gem purchases. But once upon a time, when that gems visual aid was originally made, the Mage Hand familiar was 1,000 gems. It got discounted. It got changed to only be worth 250, and everybody that had previously purchased it got a 750 gem refund. The only other thing related to getting gems back or having a lower gem cost is that if a cash shop option comes up for a feat, that feat also becomes a gem purchasable feat at 50,000 gems. If you buy that feat for 50,000 gems, but then later on you decide you want the package it came with, usually it's like a skin and feat pack, and you decide you want that skin, and you buy it, you'll get those 50,000 gems refunded back to you. But yeah, they've never been like, hey, for this week we're going to discount regular silver and gold chests that you buy with gems. It's never been a thing, and honestly, I don't expect it to ever be. Because it would basically, that would be punishment for anyone that hadn't just sat on all their gems, right? And that shouldn't be you shouldn't get punished for that. Because gems should be spent as you earn them. It should be spent on chests, because chests equal power. It should be more important for you to just do that. So that's currently the way the game has worked. To answer my question about show of strength straw is actually in your video on difficult straw variants. Oh, hey, there you go. Okay. I did not. Yeah. Once upon a time, we experimented with doing difficult variants on this show, on the tutorial show. Not the greatest format to do that on. So now I just do variants on my own channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. My streams are going to be kind of on, like, my scheduled streams are going to be on a break until January, kind of like the CNE streams. But I may hop on there and do stuff every now and then. Who knows? We'll see how much work I can get done on other things during the holidays. Yeah, I think that's most of the questions we have. So we're going to wrap things up. Oh, wait. No, here's another one. Maniac Clown, I have 6 familiars. I know that's not an optimal number for farming gems. Should I take... Oh, no, actually, that is. So should I take some time to farm gems to buy more from it? No. Yeah, 6 is great. You know, 7 is also good, but 6 puts 1 on your click damage and 5 on the field, and you only need 5 on the field to pick up all the gold and the boss chests. All the 6th one does is kill distractions, and that's not necessary. That's not necessary. So 6 is great. 6 is great. All right, that's going to be it. Remember, folks, this was, because we're ending, the last Codename Entertainment officially scheduled stream of 2021. Streams will return in the new year. Probably. I don't know if they've officially announced this, but I'm guessing first week of January, at some point in the first week of January. At some point in the first week of January. It may not be the full roster of streams, but, you know, somebody might be streaming that first week. So yeah, if you have questions during this interim time where streams aren't happening, please hop in the Discord. If you're a new player, there's a new player channel. If you're not, there's all kinds of channels, again, and threads. So you can hop in the Tavern for general discourse. You can hop in the Nerds and Artemis Exploration in the Formations channel thread. We were talking about the Modron Briv stacking thing yesterday. There's a thread for that. You can also hop on the subreddit. I will still, even though it's the holidays, I will still post a guide for the new champions in the event when they drop. So you can always hit that up on the subreddit too. What song are we going out on? Oh, I think it's the Frost Giant song, because winter, right? So we're gonna listen to the Frost Giant song on the way out. Idiot Control, will you be streaming on your channel during the CNE break? Occasionally, if you want to catch streams from me, they're gonna just be pop-up streams. They won't be scheduled streams. So that means you need to follow me and have your notifications on, or you can also follow me on Twitter at Gaarawarr. I'm Gaarawarr basically everywhere, because who steals that name, folks? No one. So yeah, thanks everybody. Have a safe and happy holidays. Yeah, I will see you next year. Bye.
Our stories told, stomping through the snow everywhere we go. Rivers of the storm, we will not conform. The winds they call us forth in the frozen north. Hear our hearts begin to blow, sending through the snow, 'cause we leave nothing left but bones for crows. Heralds of the squall, watch your heroes fall. You will know our power, one and all. We're the lords of the ice, never to be crossed. Children of thrill, fate of the lost, giants of frost. Marching through the street, our boots will crunch the meat, grind you into meat underneath our feet. Shivering our wake as the ground begins to shake. The breaking of your hope will seal your fate. We're the love